the superior mount, in my opinion.
But they're sad that they didn't, and the other people have it. So I definitely empathize with that, and I do think this could have been handled a lot better from Blizzard's end. In terms of the actual price of this, the WoW token, I suspect, is going to be shooting on upwards. Yeah, it's already gone up. Let's see if I can. Are there any on the? Oh, there no. There's none on the. None on the. Oh wait, it took my gold. Maybe I got one. Yeah, the WoW token was kind of dropped down historically low because people wanted gold. Because the expansion's expensive in terms of gold, but now anybody with any gold is trying to buy WoW tokens so that they can buy themselves a nice Brutosaur. So that, if you actually look at it from that lens, the old Brutosaur used to cost 5 mil. This costs substantially less than that if you buy WoW tokens. Like if you had 2 mil, even if the WoW token goes up a little bit, you could buy enough WoW tokens to get this Brutosaur. Even if the WoW token goes up quite a lot, even if it like doubles in price, this is still going to be cheaper than the old Brutosaur was. But I guess it just sort of feels different for players if something has a high gold cost in game versus it just straight up having that dollar price tag on it, even though the WoW token exists to make that, you can transfer the one to the other. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of anger about this mount, and I do think that a lot of it in this particular case is more justified than it is about like some sparkly horse or whatever. Or in fact, there's another mount pack that has come out, which I think is a lot less offensive, which is just some cool mounts, a bundle of different mounts for classic and retail that has a bunch of different like themed around the original races of Warcraft. This is like a $30 bundle for $30 with 4 mounts, and they look cool. This is the kind of stuff that I'm much more in favor of.
Damn, those do
than
look
the addition of like
cool,
a
$90,
kind of pay to win mount, which is what the Brutosaur is. So yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm not like the most offended player in the world by this, but I do think it's kind of icky and very poorly timed. Okay. We also have, so let's talk about the bugs and stuff. There was a rogue exploit, which has been now fixed, and potentially rollbacks are on the move, which you could get basically you would kill a critter, and then you would get full combo point finishers forever afterwards.
Forever.
If you killed the critter just the right way, like you dumped 5 combo points into it or something. So yeah, people were doing this. A lot of high keys were timed using 1, 2, or 3 outlaw rogues doing this. A lot of mythic bosses were killed or progressed using this as well. So Blizzard has a post that has come out. Let's see. Yeah, as a few hours ago, we corrected the bug that allowed outlaw rogues to contrive conditions in which they could do very high damage. We're now working on removing clearly exploited runs from leaderboards and taking count actions where appropriate. So this, I guess, is about M+. I wonder if they will fix the raid kills as well, because there have been... I've seen a couple of Silken Court kills, not just farm rekills or anything as well, but first kills for guilds that were using this as well. So we'll see what Blizzard decides to do about this. It can sometimes feel a little inconsistent what sort of things you will get in trouble for versus what you won't, but this one was definitely one that I advised people not to use because it's kind of clearly, I don't know. This one felt like one that you would get in trouble for, which is kind of hard to, the difference between this and various other bugs. It's kind of tough to be sure what's going to get you in trouble and what's not, but this one did have the feel of one that, if you use this to put really high runs on the leaderboard or kill bosses, there's a decent chance that something's going to happen to you. So, I don't know. We'll see exactly what those actions end up being. I do, of course, always call for consistency from Blizzard. Consistently applied rules will lead to people having a better, less of a feeling of like, I should exploit because I'm, usually get away with it, and therefore I should do these exploits because otherwise I'm hurting my guild or my M+ team by not doing it, right? Like, there are a lot of, I think that's kind of still the general sentiment, and even if they action this bug, there's been several others recently that they haven't, that I think contributes to that sense among the player base that, exploit early, exploit often. And I think that, an exploit rule that is enforced, 10 or 20% of the time versus one that's enforced 90+% of the time, it sort of creates this environment where you don't feel great about doing it. You're a little bit worried you're going to get in trouble, but like, you still feel like you should do it because otherwise everybody else is doing it and they're getting ahead of you. Another good example of this is the ring crest save craft exploit thing, which that one's tough because, like, so for those who don't know that one, I think a couple other people have made videos about this. I don't like talking about exploits that are currently still in the game because, I don't know, it just feels like those sorts of things. I mean, especially if they've only just been discovered, but this one's been out for a long time, so Blizzard should either fix it or say it's intended and change. So basically the way it works is, you know those slots like rings and weapons and trinkets where you have 2 slots, and normally you need a high item level piece in both slots before you get the upgrade discount? Well, if you craft into that slot and then you recraft with like a different missive or a different crafter, depending on the item, like for some items like binding and binding it doesn't work, but for the other ring it does, then you can get upgrade discount in like with just that one item, right? So one crafted ring of earth and craftsmanship, then recraft it, and then you can upgrade your other ring up to 636 as well, without using crests. And that sort of thing is tough to, like, is it a bug exploit? Yes. Are there people who are going to do it accidentally by natural play patterns of just recrafting a piece for different stats?
Also yes.
Also yes.
Yeah.
So is it going to be easy for Blizzard to ban people for doing it, especially if they leave it in the game for more than a month, which they have now? That's going to be tough. That would be a tough thing to do. So that leads to players then getting this kind of thing of like exploit early, exploit often. And I don't know. It's tough. Like there's not a clean answer for what Blizzard should do about that one or these ones in general. But it's not the healthiest equilibrium that we're at right now, I think. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. There's also, of course, being just balance in general. So the patch came out. Let's actually start with where is this thing? Before the patch got deployed, they came in with some pre-nerfs to Frost DK, Blood DK, and Arcane Mage, which the basic idea here was these specs were like Frost DK and Arcane Mage in particular were already really good, and then 11.0.5 functionally was going to buff them. A lot of people, there was some outcry about that. I made a video as well that was like, this is a little weird for these specs to be getting buffed, given how they are currently functioning in the game, right? Like, these are specs that maybe can be left alone, maybe should be nerfed, certainly shouldn't be buffed. And so Blizzard came in and was like, okay, we made some changes for Arcane Mage and Frost DK that were intended to mostly be quality of life. After further analysis and feedback, it's clear that without additional adjustments, these 2 specs would gain substantial buffs. So we're offsetting their throughput to the best of ability. Now, there was some dooming from both of these specs. Looks like both these specs are definitely totally still fine. Blood DK getting some Deathbringer nerfs as well was also one that I think there was more like, why is this happening to me questions from Blood DK is. It felt like, because it looks like these are just the same percents to the same abilities as Frost, and they were just kind of getting caught in the crossfire of the Deathbringer Frost nerfs also affecting Deathbringer Blood, which I'm not sure. I mean, Deathbringer Blood is not a super low DPS tank spec or anything, and it did also was getting buffed by this patch. So either way, this I think was a good step by Blizzard, but it would be good to try and like have this sort of before the patch comes out again, especially if you're going to try and sell everybody something that costs more than an expansion of amount. You're going to launch a patch with this sort of stuff absent from it. There are a bunch of other specs, which we'll get to soon, that need that. But we're also planning tuning for other specs to be implemented with weekly maintenance next week, and we'll have more specifics to share on that in a few days. So I think if they have a good tuning pass next week, the damage of 1 week with kind of wonky tuning is not the end of the world. And realistically, if there is a faster content cadence that involves there being some 0.x 0.5 patches that are bad for a week on balance, I do think that's a good trade-off I think that's a worthwhile trade-off to make. But ideally, it shouldn't have to be made. I don't think there was a lot of mystery that this was going to be the effects on these specs from this PTR. There was a little bit of mystery for some specs and I think with Shaman, which we've seen Shaman be the huge overperformer this first week, it's already taken a hotfix nerf of 50% effectiveness on Lightning Rod and is still just absolutely incredible in AoE. So this, is, I don't know. It's tough to be like, it's tough to be too critical of Blizzard, and it's also tough to be too defensive of Blizzard for this. Like, the game, the World of Warcraft is a game that updates a lot and patches a lot, and that cadence being fast and faster is good. But also, it does seem like patches this out of whack on tuning and bugs should be avoidable more. And
one would hope.
I don't know. It's sad. It seems
sad,
like,
folks.
98% of the work that went into patch 11.0.5 was really good. Blackrock depth rate is cool. There's some tuning concerns that people have about that, but it was really fun for me, at least. And I know there's other people as well having a lot of fun with it. The rewards aren't particularly great, so people that are mostly reward motivated from it aren't super thrilled by it, but just the actual enjoyment of doing some cool
City of Threads.
new bosses. Like, they didn't feel like just random world bosses that didn't do anything. Like, they were actually kind of cool mechanics.
This
so that was
one
cool
can
content
also
that they
be
added.
for score.
The 20th
it's
anniversary
my
stuff
lowest
in general
rating,
is
in
cool.
fact.
A lot of the changes they made to hero talent trees and class trees, some of them are kind of bad. You look at, like, the Paladin class tree, for instance, is just an absolute disaster. The changes made to it are horrific and inexplicable. But for the most part, most of the changes they made to most spec trees and hero talent trees, I think, are being pretty well received and are pretty cool. And all of that just sort of gets outshone in the players' minds by tuning being this far off, at least among me and my community. I think this is going to be the main thing that we'll remember about patch 11.0.5 was people exploiting Outlaw Rogue to kill Silicon Court, and people, not exploiting, but just using Elemental Shaman as intended and doing double damage of everybody else. And that, I think, it feels like an unforced error to me from Blizzard, and then compounded sort of in the sentiment of the player base by then releasing a extreme cash grab mount. So, I'm going to be writing an angry letter to my local dev team just to pop into my auction error WoW token. Oh no, I didn't get my WoW token. How much has it gone up to now? Let's see if it's still there. Oh, maybe? No, okay, yeah, no, none for sale.
And something that you cannot buy in the Blizzard store is just the automatic credibility of someone seeing you on the OG Brutosaur mount. Things aren't all about their immediate practicality. If one auction house mount can be bought for $90 and one required you to be playing 3 expansions ago, one carries considerably more prestige than the other.
That's to be expected. That price is going to keep going up for the next little while. It's panic buy WoW tokens. But yeah, I'll be using my Brutosaur mount to write an angry letter to the devs here. Of course, I had to purchase this mount.
This would be a good time to actually buy WoW tokens, because WoW token is going to generate a lot of gold.
Anyways, hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please do try and be... I know there's a lot of hot button topics in this particular video, so a lot of different takes.
Yep,
a lot of
guild token is already up 100K
from when these different issues, but I've tried my best to give a sort of nuanced perspective on it, which may or may not fit the current sentiment of the masses. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Always curious to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.
Good one, Dratnos. Now, this is a FD Signifier video I was hoping he was going to make. They have recently cast the Jon Stewart for DC's Green Lanterns. And I saw lots of discussion and commentary about colorism in the pic. And I'm at least smart enough to know that's none of my business. That's certainly nothing for me to be speaking on. But I am nonetheless curious about the black perspective on this one. And I think FD is just the guy to give that perspective. Take it away, Feek.
All right. Let's start a fight, shall we?
Always a good start.
I guess Warner Brothers is doing a Green Lanterns TV series or maybe movie. I'm not quite sure. It makes sense because, as I mentioned in the Black Cops video, there's a new thing for like having police shows that aren't actually about police, you know, fantasy police. The Lantern Corps from Green Lantern are essentially space cops, and this allows them to have all the cool propaganda, you know, action cop stuff without actually thinking about what cops really do. So, you know, so enjoy guilt-free, maybe. That's up to you. Also in agreement with the video is the fact that they announced that the lead person is going to be Green Lantern John Stewart, one of the lesser heralded but truly iconic and possibly first ever black superheroes. And he's going to be played by rising star Aaron Pierre. And this set off some discourse in the last couple of weeks that I just...
Aaron Pierre is a great actor.
Busy, a lot going on.
I've liked him a lot in what I've seen.
And I probably am glad I'm waited a while, because I don't think the take I'm about to give would have been well received during the heat of the conversation. A lot of black comic fans are a little annoyed at the casting. Some people are calling this colorism, people whose opinions I genuinely respect, by the way, and I get why that was the initial reaction. Others, many of whom really shouldn't be all that loud in this conversation, are saying,
This is why I shut the fuck up and did not make any posts about this on X the Everything app, because, you know, it's not my business. I can say to myself, it is interesting, their casting choice for Jon Stewart, given that he is traditionally depicted as darker than Mr. Pierce. But that's none of my business, so I will not be making any posts on X the Everything app about that.
well, he's still black, what's the big deal? Which, yeah, but I'm somewhere in between, but for reasons I haven't really seen discussed enough, so that's what this video is for. I'm going to break down why I personally am perfectly fine with this casting, but how I also feel like people who have issues with it are justified, even if they're maybe justified for the wrong reasons, and also why I am still worried about what this means for future representation for black people and black men in our media. So first, let's point something out. Having dark-skinned characters in books or comics suddenly becoming a few shades lighter in movies and TV shows is something that happens a lot with black characters.
It's a
Most
trope at this
significant is
point.
probably Storm, who has only been played by lighter-skinned actresses compared to what the character looks like in comics. There's also Rue from the Hunger Games, who gave one of the earliest moments of anti-woke nonsense in nerd media way back when that movie first dropped, and she was played by a lighter-skinned black actress. But if you go and you look at the book, the actress probably should have been darker, and it still didn't make a difference to the audience, who said, I can't believe Rue is black at all. One of the goofiest examples of this comes from Resident Evil 5 of all places, where the character Sheva, who was supposed to be South African, I don't know where these notes are, but I know I saw this, where the developers, the Japanese developers, made some final tweaks to the character to make her more appealing. And when you look at the character a little closely, like not when it's in the middle of the game, but when you just pay attention to what the character looks like, you notice that her face is a good 3 or 4 shades lighter than the rest of her body. So basically they said, we need to make her look more like Beyonce. And like, I mean, look at the shit. The shit looks silly once you focus on it. And the silliest thing is Zoe Saldana basically doing blackface to play Nina Simone, when they could have just gotten a darker skinned black woman to be the actress. Instead, they got the lightest woman they could and then slathered paint on her face, because that's how Hollywood does us. Or to be specific, and here's where things get complex, that's really mostly how Hollywood does black women. And this is gonna throw some people off, so just follow me for a second. Just chill out in the comments while I get this all in order. Colorism is a very complex topic, and before I go any further, I want to highlight
why
some
I would not
creators who
speak
have
on it
talked about
myself, but
extensively, such as
defer
Khadijah
to...
Mbo and Yara Zaid, as I should not be the last voice that you hear about this topic. But to give a simple definition for the sake of this video, it's basically discrimination and prejudice based on the darkness on one's skin or complexion, their phenotype, or specific features being...
Applies to more than just black folk as well. Pretty much every racial segment that has a range in color from light to dark is typically subject to colorism. Like, that's that's pretty common. Motherfuck. What hit me? Shadows of Doubt. Well,
closer to white than
we've got a few more bodies than I would have liked
ethnicity
to at this stage of the
more
dungeon.
typical of. It's similar to good old-fashioned racism, except that colorism also is a huge issue within ethnic groups. So there is a tendency for white people to discriminate more.
I've also never seen a tank use this route before. This is an unusual route. I'm not sure I like it.
Against darker skinned black people, and this has been proven through research to manifest in education, the criminal justice system, media representation, and so on. But this same privileging for lighter skin also happens within community, as lighter skinned black people, especially women, are privileged in a variety of ways due to having lighter skin. And this is a worldwide phenomenon. Just
Wait, are we still going to pull these guys? Then why are we taking this route?
I won't say for a fact that colorism is always connected to being colonized by white Europeans, but it's definitely connected, as you can see, in places that have been colonized, such as South America, the Caribbean, Southeast and East Asia. You will still see elements of colorism, elements of darker skin people from those regions wanting to lighten their skin or just being erased from their own media because lighter skin is preferred. A relevant example of this comes from Simu Liu, the lead actor in the Shang-Chi Marvel movie, where here in America, we thought he was a great pick, but if you go and you look at the way that many Chinese and other, I guess, East Asian communities spoke about his casting online, they were saddened that they picked a darker-skinned Asian man to play that role. So I'll say this to say that I need you all to know that I know that colorism is a thing, period. Do not start in my comments trying to say it's not. Colorism is a thing, featureism is a thing, light skin privilege is a thing, and that is across gender lines. It is still a thing. However, all right, stick with me for a second.
A big however.
In many ways, colorism works differently for black men in America.
Hey, did you see where I put my microphone? Oh yeah, I think Jaden has it. I gave it to him. You gave Jaden my microphone? Yeah, he asked for it. What's wrong? Jaden's light skin. Oh.
White at night, but black and light. Who will fight for my light skin rights? Both Monkey and Massa. A world with two lives.
I have an old video about this that maybe I'll revisit, as it's one of my early videos where I was still recording off of a cell phone, so it's not the quality that many have come to expect from my channel.
I might die here.
But in that video,
pass on.
I talk about the fact that although colorism in many ways works exactly the same for black men as it does black women, in some ways it doesn't. And if you don't understand that, you really just not have the best analysis for situations like this. In many situations where you engage with black men as a unique gendered identity, and as I said many times before on several channels, we do have a severely underdeveloped apparatus for understanding black men as a gender. One key thing to keep in mind is that colorism is often based in issues around desirability, as in what traits or features are considered to be most desirable for attracting a mate, regardless of what gender, identity, or sexuality that mate is. So I'm going to be doing some huge generalizations here that do hinge on heteronormative frameworks, so give me grace, but understand this kind of translates across gender and sexuality.
Oh,
in
that's the
general,
healer.
if something
That's the
is
last
considered
person you want to see
more
hit the floor.
masculine, then it is considered
Oh,
more
no.
desirable. In general.
no,
and if something
bro.
is considered more
I'm
feminine,
very scared.
same thing. And in a white supremacist society,
I'm very
masculinity
scared.
and femininity are going to hinge
Okay.
greatly on images built off of white men and white women, aka white masculinity and white femininity. Conversely, black men and women have often been pushed as far away from these idealized images as possible. And phenotypically speaking, for black women, certain specific elements of white femininity, such as long, straight hair, lighter eyes, smaller features, and of course, lighter skin, all make it hard for them to be considered feminine in a white supremacist society. Black women persistently struggle with being seen as feminine in the wider world, even from black men, sometimes especially from black men, who, for a small but loud contingent, can be the most vocal in their negativity toward black women. Again, A loud minority,
Watch your
but
step.
still a thing. And the issue of being seen as feminine isn't just a challenge on the dating market for black women, but it also creates challenges for employment, safety, and protection under the law. Black girls are often adultified, meaning they're seen as less innocent and older than they actually are, which means if black girls go missing, people don't care. Or if black girls are victims of certain types of crimes, people think that they probably did something to deserve it. I've also talked about how doctors and nurses, and this is again research-based, genuinely believe that black women have higher pain tolerances than other women, which leads to a litany of other like negative health outcomes. And most apparently in our media, at least here in America, a lot of black women often find themselves erased or at best limited when it comes to being seen and visible. And it isn't quite the same for black men. I talk about this in my Black Gender Wars video, but the short version is basically the tools and capacities for how black men can access white masculinity is a different tool bag than how black women need to try to access white femininity. Watch the video for the fullness of that take. I know this is gonna piss some people off. I can't with y'all right now. Go watch the other video. So a thing that's hard for some people to get is that the way that black men are able to navigate and maneuver trying to access white masculinity is just not as possible for black women trying to navigate and access white femininity. It's not saying that black men are equal to white men or that black men are the white people of black people and stuff that I know is going to trigger a handful of certain type of Negroes in my audience. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the gaps there and the way we travail those gaps don't work exactly the same, and thus the face of the colorism discussion is often a dark-skinned black woman's face because they're leading that discussion, and for good reason, because colorism affects them the most and the worst. But the byproduct of that is that because the conversation around colorism is focused on darker-skinned black women, it's hard for me to talk about these differences without people putting words in my mouth saying that I'm trying to deny that colorism is a thing or that it's actually light-skinned black people of all genders that are oppressed. And like, please, again, you getting ready to write a dissertation in my comment section about light-skinned people, actually watch the video. Just before you finish the dissertation, finish the video. So a lot of the ways that colorism affects black men is exactly the same as the way it affects black women. Lighter skinned black men are considered smarter, less criminal. They get better opportunities in education and in professional arenas, and they're more likely to receive lighter sentences when charged with crimes. Again, this is all research based. I'm not putting that shit in the description, just fucking Google it. There's a history here. There's a reason why the brown paper bag test is a thing. Again, Google that. But that's a thing where black people of all genders were barred from certain cultural or social groups if they were any darker than a brown paper bag. There's a reason why so many historical black figures throughout American history are lighter skinned, possibly even biracial, and this includes black men, Du Bois, Charles Drew, Thurgood Marshall. If I bother to Google, you go down the line and look at first black person to do blank, like a disproportionate amount of those first are going to be lighter skinned black people, especially the men. By virtue of white supremacy, black people with a closer proximity to whiteness have just had more access to resources and less barriers to success. This is just historical facts.
This still feels timeable.
Are you with me now?
We cut a lot of bodies,
Right?
but I feel like it's still
understand colorism. You in the comment section writing the dissertation, shut up and just listen to what I'm actually saying now. When we come to the media, in American media specifically, lighter skinned black men were more visible than darker skinned black men for a long time, but it wasn't always like that, nor has it stayed like that. And when we come back to desirability, specifically for black men, there is a specific fetishization for darker skin and the way that dark skin is desired in black men, not in a necessarily good way, but a flattering way per se, that is still very harmful because it's flattering. Black men tend to play into it, and black women tend to participate in it. And we even see this with white men, hence the phrase tall, dark, and handsome. There's something about that element of darkness that, at least in America, translates to masculinity. When you look at white men celebrated for their looks in old Hollywood and today, you're not seeing blondes, you're not seeing pale men, you're seeing tan men with strong features, dark hair, hunter eyes, and all this other shit. That's just the way it works. And again, complexity here, because all those features for black men is also what greatly gets us discriminated against in real life. And even within Hollywood, when they want to depict black men as brutes and criminals and savages, they use dark-skinned black men. But then we get to Sidney Poitier. Foreign man, I'm sorry. I know. I know you were waiting on this. I'm sorry. Sidney Poitier is not a bad guy, but his role in this specific discourse cannot be understated, and it's not necessarily the best look for him. Sidney was a trailblazer in Hollywood. He was the first black leading man, and part of the reason was that he was, one, very dark and presented very masculine and traditional, but he also very purposefully presented that masculinity in an idealized, safe, and acceptable way. No one would ever mistake Poitier for a brute because of the way he presented himself and the way he spoke, and so in that regard, he was the best of both worlds. He got to be, in many ways, that fetishized ideal of the dark-skinned black men, but also acceptable and able to integrate into, you know, civil society. And part of that was because the types of roles that Poitier played would never allow him to behave in any way that was not acceptable. Poitier's characters helped create the concept of the acceptable Negro, or the magical Negro. He never really was about black issues, at least on screen. He never really appeared with other black actors, especially black women, and definitely not white women, which wasn't the case for him in real life. So in that regard, he helped like unearth this new image of black masculinity that became the pristine top image of what was desirable for black men. Now, this didn't immediately become the standard in Hollywood. In the 80s, we still had Mario Van Peebles and Prince and Billy D. Williams. But by the time Wesley Snipes pops up in the 90s, light-skinned leading men in Hollywood basically become extinct. Right now, think to yourself, from the 90s until now, who are the black leading men in Hollywood? Are any of them light-skinned? Pretty much none of them.
Will Smith.
All you have is Will Smith.
There we go.
You know, depending on how you imagine lighter skin, barely counts. The Rock, who barely counts as black.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel, who doesn't even identify as black. If you're thinking about black leading men, you're thinking Denzel, Wesley Snipes, Don Cheadle, Samuel L. Jackson, Chadwick Boseman, and so on. That is what Hollywood has branded as the leading
Denzel
black
Washington's
men
son.
for most of the last like 3 or 4 decades. And all of the iconic black male heroes from Marvel to DC and beyond are darker skinned black men. Even in anime, I don't think there's any light skinned black men. I'm not the most comic book dude ever. I know enough to be dangerous. I can't think of any top tier black heroes. I can't think of any B tier black heroes, black male heroes that are not my complexion or darker as they're depicted in the comics. Miles Morales, who's half Puerto Rican, is the same complexion as me. So whereas darker skinned black women can very legitimately and with a ton of proof show that they're being marginalized and invisibilized in American media, I don't think darker skinned black men can feel the same. They just can't. Things aren't perfect for us, right? There's still a lot
Interesting
to critique
nuance,
about
actually.
the
I hadn't
depiction of
considered
black
that.
men in our media. But if you were to say there was a huge variety for black male images for darker skinned black men right now, you'd be correct. You want a sensitive family man? Get Sterling K. Brown. You want nerds? Pick the 1 billion dark skinned black nerds from the last 20 years. You want superheroes? You got that. You want queer black men? You even have that. If you're complaining about being erased as a black man because of this one particular incident, I ain't with you on that. I'm just not. Feel free to correct me. Let me know. Drop some data in the comment section about how I'm wrong. I don't see it. Now, there are plenty of reasons as to why we see darker skinned black men in our media that are not based on that fetishized masculine image. The least of which is that most black people are darker skinned, especially worldwide. But it does call into question whether or not this particular act of erasure is truly an act of discrimination with Aaron Pierre when he is the one light-skinned drop in a very black bucket. So this brings you to like the real thing to be critiquing about why this decision was made. Because understand, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be upset, specifically because Green Lantern John Stewart does have a really like significant pro-black legacy in his creation because he was low-key based off of Sidney Poitier. You still get to be a little perturbed at this very specific moment of erasure. And people that are angling on that, I'm with you and I get you. To me, this casting of Aaron Pierre is more about, guess what? capitalism than really anything else. And yes, capitalism is connected to all those other issues of race, but I haven't heard enough of a breakdown as to the specifics of why. Pierre is probably the best actor for the role that was actually going to take it in this situation. This doesn't mean discrimination and colorism are not involved, but just not in the way that people are talking about it, at least from what I've heard. First and foremost, let's think about all the other like dark-skinned actors that you might want to play the role, like a Daniel Kaluuya or John Boyega or John David Washington. They're not going to do this because this is for the most part, no shade to his fans, this is a B-list superhero character. This is not an iconic black superhero to the non-comic book reading world. Green Lantern in and of himself is a B-tier superhero, even in the DC universe. So if you're talking about what is this, the third or fourth Green Lantern to ever exist, you're not going to get John Boyega, who's already been through so much drama with Disney before, to come and say, yeah, I'll take that role. You're also not going to get the OG A-listers like, Jamie Foxx or Denzel Washington or Mahershala Ali because they're old. Ali is already struggling to get Blade to come to the movies. I don't know what's going on there.
We're never getting
Maybe you
this
could have got
movie.
Michael B. Jordan, but wouldn't that be the same problem? Low-key, I think some of y'all wouldn't have complained if it was Michael B. Jordan, but I'm going to hold that. I'm going to hold that because we're getting along right now.
Yeah, we're just talking.
So maybe we should get a B-team figure like Marvel did low-key with Chadwick Boseman. Boseman was an up-and-coming guy, but he wasn't quite an A-lister at the time. So maybe Trevante Rhodes could have played this role, or Kofi Siriboe. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Those are guys that probably could have done it. I really think like Jay Ellis, who played Lawrence, this could have worked for him, or better yet, Elan Noel from Insecure. Like, that man is a really good actor, and I ain't seen that brother in a minute. I'm so frustrated that he hasn't found something else to do. He's good in everything he's in. So you could argue that, but I gotta ask, have y'all seen Rebel Ridge? For the character that is Jon Stewart, from what I understand about the character, my limited knowledge only from the cartoons and a handful of comic book like summaries and shit, he basically already played this character in that movie, and I don't even like that movie. So I think he's gonna be.
It's not a
great
very
in
good
the
movie,
role
but he's
if you
good
can
in
get
it.
Past the fact that he has hazel eyes or whatever. But what's missing from that rant right there is that this does still kind of like lend itself to a capitalistic analysis. From what I understand, and like there's differing arguments around this, British actors tend to be cheaper because the union rules in the UK are different, or maybe they're different here, and that is why you see Daniel Kaluuya and Idris Elba
That's bad.
and John Boyega constantly playing black American roles. The same thing's happening with a lot of white American roles. So Pierre, being from the UK,
That's
is
bad, that's
also
bad.
part of that equation. Further, and here's where like the colorism comes back, but not in the way
A little
that
bit
I've heard
old
people
school
argue it.
Hunter
The
in
colorism in
there.
the United States for black men doesn't work the same, but it works the same pretty much anywhere outside of the United States. We all remember the story of how they covered Chadwick Boseman's face for the Black Panther posters and the international releases because they knew that if they showed this darker skinned black man on the front of the poster, it would be less successful, especially in places like China and Asia. And anti-blackness and internalized racism is very real. As far as I can tell, colorism is not as inverted in Africa and the Caribbean as it is here in the United States when it comes to black men. Me and Foreman talked about this in his video about Vibes Cartel, an incredibly popular Jamaican musician who bleached his skin because that's how dire colorism is elsewhere. I've seen plenty of evidence that dark-skinned black men get treated similarly to dark-skinned black women outside of the United States. So you have to wonder, as international markets get more and more important, and if we as American consumers care less about this issue, will we possibly get to a point where we see dark-skinned
Probably
black
not
men
time
being
in this key,
erased
but it was
from the
pretty
media
clutch of me
the
to
same
save
way
that poll.
dark-skinned black women have? That is
Low-key,
possible.
pretty
We shouldn't
clutch.
take this lightly, but we should have a more nuanced understanding of how this works. There is value in having lighter-skinned black men be represented in ways that they are not in our media. We should want for the image of black masculinity to not so closely be tied to a fetishized image of dark black manhood. I want a variety of black images on my screen, not just the ones that satisfy the American market or the international market. Or at a minimum, I want shit to at least be good if I'm gonna have to deal with the bullshit that is racism on a regular basis, because let's be honest, as long as we're trusting the Hollywood apparatus to tell our stories, even when we're the ones behind the camera and behind the scenes, there's always gonna be compromises and problems when it happens. That Rebel Ridge movie It's low-key trash. Like, he fights the police in it. He don't kill not one of the motherfuckers. I could not believe I got through that whole movie, was low-key bored half of it, only for him to use non-lethal takedown methods to save his own life while, of course, getting helped by the good cop. Spoilers for that movie, by the way. Fuck that movie. Anyway, regardless of how I felt about the movie, I can't lie. He was really good. And I know he can play that same no-nonsense character in this show. And with it being a James Gunn production and James Gunn seemingly having a better idea of what to do with the DC universe, which for my money is better than the Marvel universe in terms of the totality of the stories that they can tell, I want to see what happens. And I think this could be a good thing. So I want to be clear, not telling you that you have to feel differently about it, just saying that there was nuance and complexity in the conversation that I didn't see being.
Well, that's
brought to
why I
the
clicked
forefront
on the
of.
video,
And that's happening,
FD,
especially
because
with
I
black
knew
men
you'd
who
be
I
bringing
can
that
say
nuance.
We don't have a strong analysis apparatus on YouTube and our media and academia. It is just not up to par. I felt like it needed to be engaged with. Speaking of engagement, thank you so much for watching this far into the video. You may not know this, but watching a video to the end is one of the best ways to support your favorite YouTuber. YouTube is ran on machine learning systems that judge a video's quality based on a lot of factors, but most YouTubers recognize that watch time is one of the most important ones. It theoretically means that a video was good enough to hold a viewer's attention for the duration, which means that a video will be stronger in the algorithm, which means more views and success and money for the creator. This is a game I know all too well and one that I have learned to excel at. However, it doesn't always mean the best content. It means more commercials. It means videos have to be made with all these tricks for engagement in mind. Like, I should just, like right now, pop up, what is that thing that people do where they show the guy running, rail runners,
Subway surfers, yeah.
something runners, or, you know, whatever the STEM trick is that you can do.
That would have been pretty good,
Put that
actually,
on
for this
one side,
video, having
talk on
Subway
this side,
surfers
and
gone.
Now you're all paying attention longer. Like,
Should have done that, FD.
I'm not saying I'm above that. I may do that shit. Hey, think about it. I've been leaving meat on the fucking table. Anyway, my point is, that's a part of the meta for YouTube. And that's also why my streaming service, Nebula, is such a big benefit to me as a creator. Because unlike YouTube, Nebula does not run on any machine learning algorithms. It's actually still ran by humans and does not measure a video's quality based on a bunch of invisible math. Instead, you, the viewer, are in complete control of what you see, not an infinite suggestion feed. And you're also going to see videos from over 200 of YouTube's best creators in their intended form without ad breaks or copyright restrictions or bad demonetization aspects and censorship and all the other bullshit we got to deal with. However, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because if you're an avid video essay watcher, you may already know what Nebula is about, but you may not know that Nebula is evolving into something new. It's evolving into a full-on independent movie studio. In the last year, Nebula has been focusing on producing its own high-production, independent content. This comes in a variety of forms, some of which are still close to your typical video essay, like Real Life Lore's series on conflicts in the Middle East, or a
Real life lore, a little libbed up for my taste,
taste,
but that's
on our
fine.
main channel in the last few years. But it's also in the form of travel content, like the reality elimination show, The Getaway, where several of your favorite creators go on a road trip to try to figure out which of them is a secret saboteur. Except, unbeknownst to them, they all are saboteurs. There's also new short films, stage plays, and a ton of other original content that you won't find on YouTube, that Nebula is itself fronting the money for production on. This is giving your favorite YouTubers the chance to be more than just YouTubers. And we have a big vision for this, which is why we still need your direct support. Nebula isn't a big tech company. We're actually independently creator-owned, not owned by Google or YouTube or anyone else, and thus we come directly to you as the consumer for patronage and support. So please keep that ball rolling and see what we can come up with next by using my promo code Signified B-Sides, getting 40% off a year subscription, or just click the link in the description.
Bro's got two Nebula
so much for
promo
watching
codes,
to the
one
end of
for the
this
main
video.
channel
Thank you to
and
Nebula
one
for
for the
sponsoring
second
video.
channel.
I'm FD Signifier, and this has been Lightwork.
Very informative. Much better than me just having my own demented white guy opinions. FD is very smart and knows a lot about this stuff, so I was very curious to hear his take, because I was definitely seeing the colorism takes when it came to Jon Stewart, and I did feel some kind of way about it. But that video really put into words where I'm like, you know, it's actually, it's probably okay. It's probably good. What do I got?
Because fascist, as I understand it, it's the 1930s revolution. Because fascist, as I understand it, it's the 1930s revolutionary social project.
Little
And
boy
by
boy.
calling these people fascists, who are you actually letting off? You are letting off other liberals.
Yeah.
You are letting off other conservatives by
Yep.
saying that this monster is different to you.
Yeah.
You don't share anything with him. This monster is a fascist, whereas you are a respectable liberal.
Yeah.
But the truth is that liberalism extends to this.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly right. Liberals lay the train tracks that the fascists use
Now
to
we get
send
to
us all to the
round one.
To have
camps.
fun.
I hope you guys have had enough learning.
I mean, we're going to go back to learning.
Now we're
right
having
after
this is recess now.
Yeah,
We've-
yeah.
You've finished first period.
Let's go reset
This is a
bus.
6-hour
Now it's
stream.
lunchtime.
Anyway, Donald Trump gets a job at McDonald's.
Looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's. I never did. I'm running against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally phony story. So
He said she worked at McDonald's.
well, that's a good-looking group. Hello,
I mean, she did work at McDonald's.
I'm having a lot of fun here, everybody. Little fake news of it. I'm looking for
Oh my god.
and I've always wanted
This
to work.
this
It's
is
outside.
it's a throwback to the
Why
best day
would
of
it be
being
outside?
president.
What was it?
When he had the Super Bowl winners or something, or he had the college football
Oh,
winners come,
yeah.
and it was during the government shutdown. And
Yep.
he took that photo,
With all the McDonald's.
surveying all.
Yeah,
the
look at all
McDonald's.
this
Oh, it's just-
industrial
it's the
strength
most
people
glorious
poison,
American
dude.
image you can imagine.
I saw
Check
a
it
photo
out.
of this when I woke up, and I was like, "Oh, AI, okay."
Oh,
cool."
100%.
I scrolled past it.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. He looks so fucking AI as well.
Well, especially how tanned he is.
It's
It's like they put him in here. He's so
been in, he's been
brown.
in the deep fryer.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
standing above the deep fryer for hours before doing it.
You know what's so bad? I purposely didn't watch.
It was staged. Oh, really? I
No,
thought
he got a job.
I don't know. I think he got a job there.
I think what annoys me so much is that I didn't watch any of this because I wanted to have a real reaction on stream to this. But I did see like the captions that different accounts will put on, and if you're on Twitter, you'll know that it exclusively feeds you right-wing content, and so
Yep.
all these like right-wing accounts.
That's how
they all
X
thought
the
they
Everything
all come
app
up with
works.
The funniest joke in the world, which is he goes in there and he says, "You're fried." You haven't heard that one? It's fucking amazing. I don't know when you finished drinking before I laid that banger on you. You'd be like, this is the perfect opportunity for Donald Trump to go in there and say, "You're fired." I love him. I wish they didn't have any political ambitions, because I think right-wingers are just like funny.
Very funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be great if they were totally out of
stick to
power
the-
and just there
to
for the yuck
great
yucks.
jokes. We could all get along. Anyway, MSNBC does not like that he's working at McDonald's. See, it's very, polarizing politics in America. You got the ones that like him being at McDonald's, you got the ones that don't like him being at McDonald's.
I mean, if you're on his campaign, and I know you are certainly
I mean, they're right. That does sound like a meltdown.
incoming.
Get him out of there. Stop. Stop being in McDonald's.
Run out.
That's basically the
I
American
mean,
church.
If you're on his campaign, and I know you are certainly not, I'm not making any implication of that, but what is the logic behind this? Going
You're
to
an idiot.
McDonald's? I mean, we know the guy likes Big Macs and filet of fish, and he's used the word love to describe the way he feels about the food there before. But what's this about?
I cannot understand lib media in America, because they just like cell phone all the time. They're always doing the satire for the right wing.
Yeah.
They're just like, can you believe he eats hamburgers? How pathetic.
Who the hell eats hamburgers?
Ah, well.
He loves them.
He loves hamburgers.
What a joke. You know what?
Wow.
I hate America.
These people. He wants votes from people, and he's acting like a normal man.
Can you believe he doesn't eat filet mignon? What a cockadoodie idiot.
He should be shucking oysters like Kamala.
Man, You know what? I can't picture this guy eating a niçoise.
Didn't
salad,
time that
you
one,
know?
but
He is much better at this.
City of
retail
Threads
stuff
is a
than
bit of
Vance.
a bear.
Imagine Vance doing this.
Okay.
Okay.
How long has the franchisee owned this?
Wow, I had the
establishment?
highest score of
I have no
anyone in
idea.
there as
Okay.
well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
I had the highest score of anyone in there as well.
And like,
That's crazy.
from fries or something.
You know, do your thing.
Just like get some fries or
Yeah,
something.
bit of whatever everyone else gets.
Yeah, like
This is sustenance. Okay, I'll take 3.
Okay.
I'll take 3 directly into. Oh, here's one. Okay.
There's no logic to it. It's a stunt. He has not put forth an economic agenda. He, as you know, is.
He doesn't need to. American businesses openly collude with the right wing.
Look, I don't like Trump. I think he's an asshole. I don't think he's unwell. What is this concern trolling?
He's old, sure.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to
When
pretend
he's at
anymore.
McDonald's, what have I seen? The little 20-second clip I saw, he's firing on all cylinders here. He is in his lane, in his zone. Moisturized, love and life.
It is very funny how much the Democrats and libs in general they can now suddenly talk about how
All right,
old Trump
I
is.
keep
That
arriving-
They don't have Biden.
Yeah.
Before, obviously, they're all sitting there going.
I keep
Trump's
arriving
old as well. Trump's old as well. As
to
soon
the
as someone goes,
theater
Biden's old,
troupe
Biden's old, they're going,
a few
"Trump's
minutes
old as
too
well."
late.
They're like, we can't talk about that.
Yeah.
We're not going to make that
Making an
mistake
issue.
again.
Now that
We're going to be
Biden's
there
old,
on
he's
time.
He's so old.
Ready to
How
go.
could you possibly even
How could you
consider
do this?
voting for a guy this age?
He's so old.
Look at him. Look at him.
They have become unburdened by what has been.
That's joke of the day, in my opinion. That's better than a Zionist. Unburdened by what has been. Very good. I think we're the best political talk show in the world. I've never seen something that funny on the TV.
Types of activities during this campaign. So this is just another one of those stunts that he will continue on through the campaign. And I think that we need to really focus on making sure that he is not elected, of course, because he is a threat to democracy, but also the Harris-Ross agenda is about the economy, reducing the cost of living.
Their agenda's about the economy. That's cool. That's just cool.
I've never really watched like MSNBC before and stuff like that. I didn't realize how nakedly partisan
They're very
how
partisan.
nakedly partisan they are.
Well, what I hate about, well, here we go, Elon Musk, top comment. I guess probably the reason that I have to see this fucking video. But, you know, he's always pointing at, like, you know, media being in control of the Democrats and, like, yeah, you know, it's true. Like, these people are just lackeys. But he's always ignoring the fact that the same thing exists for the Republicans.
Yes.
And it's Fox News, and it's massive.
Yes.
And it's like probably some of the most viewed shows in America are on that platform, and they ignore that. Like, that's not mainstream media. You know, mainstream media is just the guys who disagree with me.
Because like in Australia, like, you know, you got like Murdoch papers and stuff like that, and they're very nakedly pro-lib. But the other ones that are pro-lib they don't come out and do it. They're just like, it's, you know, they just set the agenda.
Here you go, boys. You're doing so well. I made you some coffees.
Thanks.
Keep doing what you're doing. There were some good jokes in there, both of you.
Thanks.
Where's my milk?
Thanks, Mum. Lib is right wing in Australia.
Yes.
So the Liberal Party was set up by Pig Iron Bob, and they are they were a group of anti-Labor people.
Yeah.
So in most of the Australian political history, you've had the Labor Party and a coalition of non-Labor parties. There's the Nationals, which are like the country party, the rural party. They're basically just gerrymandered in. They win every single time because there's no opposition out there. And then you've got the Liberals, who are like the middle class, upper middle class, traditionally groupings. It's all kind of changed nowadays. And then Labor lovers, you call Labor lovers hacks. That's what you call them. Also in Australia, we spell Labor L-O-B-O-R. We spell it the same as you Americans. And in fact, the reason we do that is because it was in solidarity with your Labor movements of, I believe it was the anarchy. There's some. It was either your like May Day parade or something. May 8th. What was it?
L-O-B-O-R.
Is that what I spelled?
I don't know. That's very funny. Lobber party.
What was it? You guys did Haymarket Affair. That's what it is. Yes.
Man, you guys are
There
so
was some
fucking good.
anarchist bombing or something like that, and named after the, and then they was called Labour, and in solidarity with that, we named our Labour Party Labour Party.
And then what? Then you guys disappeared.
You guys don't have a Labour Party.
Yeah.
Did I really spell it L-O-B-O-R?
I don't know.
Reducing the cost of prescription drugs, reducing the cost of housing, and making life better for everyone. And that's what we have to focus on and make sure we get every voter to the polls and make sure that the voters vote for the future, not taking the country backwards, as you see what Donald Trump continues to try to do. So I'm urging and encouraging everyone to get to the polls and vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to be.
Who is this woman speaking? She's not like a. She's not the host of the show. This
Yeah,
is
she's like a Democrat
guest
representative,
talking,
or just like an opinion column or something like. Unless this is just the.
All right, let's get the remainder of this participation
it could be.
done
Maybe
with.
MSNBC is as lib as the right wingers claim. After working the fry at McDonald's, I asked Trump if he thinks the minimum wage should be raised. Well, I think these people work hard, they're great, and I just saw something, a process that's beautiful.
Minimum wage should be raised.
Well, I think this. I think these people work hard. They're great. And I just saw something, a process that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. These are great franchises and produce a lot of jobs.
It's a beautiful process, folks. It's a beautiful process, folks. Don't talk about wages.
These are great people working here. It's a beautiful franchise. What?
That's Trump?
No, I'm just talking.
Oh, okay.
This is my voice. That's my voice being a cool guy.
It sounded, very cool.
I think there's something really specific going on here. I don't want to be a loser.
Typical Alexa, always looking for the big conspiracy.
Well, no, it's not a conspiracy. It's worse.
Okay.
It's the
It's
really
worse
leftist
than
that calls
that.
everything fascist.
You think this is fascist?
I think it's not. I mean, it's fascist in the broad sense, in that like it's very similar to the way Christianity talks about poverty as well, where it's like you're not interested in alleviating poverty. You're interested in the aesthetics of poverty and the beauty of poverty, in that you know that you're not
And there it
interested
is.
in helping poor people, but you want to convince poor people that
The last
they have
upgrade.
a part in the bigger picture.
My current
so it's
gear
like-
is now
I see
fully
what you mean.
upgraded,
It's
and
like
I'm
the
625.
Charity.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I
And,
do
like,
need
the
to
point of
toss
it is
another
not to
upgrade
help
on my
poor
treacherous
people,
transmitter.
but it's to help poor people. That there's something holy about poor people
Yeah,
suffering,
yeah.
which makes the world. It's then your mission to help them, kind of thing. I think he's just repeating The Apprentice.
I
think
now
it's
have
just
caught up
him
Yeah, a fascist
on my quest
show.
farm.
I think it's just
Let's do some
him
math real quick
doing
here.
Retail politics. People, I think
630.
most people look at this and they'd be like,
Minus
I think he's a fun
393.
like,
No, of course.
it
No,
just makes
no,
him
no.
look good.
Divide
on
that
the
by
I'm
outside.
talking about,
12.
the-
So that's still
the
20 time
subconscious ideological
keys
underpinnings of this
to
act,
finish catching up.
where it's like I fucking hate this. I hate being the fascism guy, but like, you know, the bargain that you make with like a fascist movement, because they're both answers to the class conflict. You're a class conflict, and either you're going to be a communist and you're going to be like, we need to resolve this by the victory of the big class against the small one that's exploiting them. But the fascist idea is that every single role in society is actually a cohesive family.
Yeah.
And poor people, firstly, they're meant to be there. That's their role. But also it's like a beautiful paternalistic relationship between them and their oppressors. And like, you just need to be happy in your, like, there's a beauty in your oppression, in what you're experiencing as a quintessential part of the national whole. Like, it's not, obviously he's not thinking that.
No,
It's just that's a consequence of being like, I would like to appeal to these people and I don't want to help them. And that it ends up creating this kind of image.
I hesitate to call Trump a fascist.
No, I'm not. Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm just saying every act falls somewhere in a spectrum.
Yeah.
And I think of this specific thing, like when it's this naked, where it's like, are you going to give them a raise? And he's like, this is a beautiful place. It's like it's a kind of clear-cut response from that school of thought. But again, it's a useless thing to say, because it's.
I've said off chat.
What are they saying?
I said I hesitate to call him a fascist.
I mean, no, it's not from this. He says some fucking crazy fascist stuff. He does. When he's talking about this.
Oh, I can queue for the Chromie scenario from anywhere, can't I?
I didn't see. Sorry. So I listened. I've brought it up many times before.
40
I
minutes.
listened to Radio Warner.
That's
Great
kind of
podcast,
insane.
And Annibale, the Italian guest they have on.
I was going to say an Italian git. I was like, what the hell did this come from?
No, the Italian guest, he was talking about.
He's amazing.
He was talking about neo-Nazism, and he was talking about Maloney.
Yeah.
And he was also talking about Berlusconi and stuff like that. And he pointed out something very, very good with calling these people Nazis, and calling these people fascists, because fascist, as I understand it, it's the 1930s revolutionary social project, right? And these people often they talk about defending the Constitution. They talk about their freedom, their rights, these individual rights that they have. That is contrary to the 30s fascism in a lot of ways. The 30s fascism was an authoritarian.
I wonder, do I have the energy for one more? Or should I be a good boy and call it a night there? Because I do kind of want to do one more. I'm still not getting into 10s, frustratingly. Although we did improve our rating tonight, and we of course also improved our item level, so that should help. Maybe. We'll see. You know, what I want to do is just play a little bit of Marvel Snap and then call it a night. I think we've had a good one overall. Pretty good night on the mean. Definitely shouldn't do another because then I'll be up until after 1 a.m. But I do want to hear out this segment on Trump from the Boys.
State absorbed. It was reenacting the success.
So let's do a little Marvel Snap. In fact, let's even change our category.
Yeah.
That's not really what
To
they're
Marvel
talking about. And
Snap.
what Annibale pointed out, which I really made me think was,
Heck
by
yeah.
calling these people fascists, who are you actually letting off?
Yeah.
You are letting off other liberals.
Yeah.
You are letting off other conservatives by saying that this monster is different to you.
Yeah.
You don't share anything with him. This monster is a fascist, whereas you are a respectable liberal.
Yeah.
But the truth is that liberalism extends to this.
Yeah.
This monster, these horrific policies are within liberal democracy.
Yeah.
This is not outside of the system.
Yeah.
The fascism was a revolutionary project which involved a coup and stuff like that. His first term was not that.
Yeah.
The difference now is that you've got these weird, the Silicon Valley types and the Teals and all this stuff.
I was able to bait him into snapping. That's pretty good.
I also feel like it's kind of just a dog whistle to get certain people in. I don't know. It's easier to address
But
this
even
stuff
dog whistles
after the fact.
have consequences that could mimic the atrocities of fascism. But I think another way to look at it, which again,
I like playing a little
useful, but if
slower
you
in
like,
Marvel Snap because
sure,
it tends
it's
to
not
tilt
like
the
fascism
opponent
by
pretty easily.
The way we identify it in what the fascist parties were at that time. But like if you look at fascism as a through a Foucauldian lens, where fascism is like a technology, and then all this stuff is true what you're saying, but like these like neo-lib kind of hawkish like characters are fascist in the sense that like fascism has evolved. It's worked out ways to be more palatable. It's worked out how to assert itself through different narratives. Like, I don't know. But then again, what's the use of using the word then?
Yeah. It's tricky because, I mean, I think once you start doing that, I think neoliberalism is fascism. Neoliberalism is the same corporatist, authoritarian governments that is that has a social project, but it's different because of its emphasis on the rhetorical and ideological angle of it is a focus on individual rights.
Yeah.
What fascism was a national project. Social. It's a social project in opposition to what the communists and socialists were doing, based around the nation and
Yeah, no, you're right.
hierarchy
You're right.
and stuff. So it's
But there's
different.
there's little hints towards that in Trump's rhetoric, you know. But like, I think
it is.
I think if anything, this is going to sound so fucking shit. It's probably the worst thing I could say on stream. I feel like fascism.
Hang on, but think about it before you say it.
I think I can explain it properly. I think fascism would be more like neoliberalism kind of shoots itself in the foot because I think fascism is inherently more spiritually fulfilling than neoliberalism. I think like they're grappling with the same problem, which is, you know, class conflict and how to make capitalism
Didn't
work,
mean to give that guy the bonus
in a
energy.
society
That's
that
unfortunate.
doesn't want it, or they can't actually live with it. Fascism points more to like a community.
I'm pretty sure I can snap on this with safety.
And neoliberalism is more individualized, and I think that's like bound to fail.
Also, fascism, it's
Because no matter what he tries to cram down this center lane,
I'm not gonna stop everything.
I can push it away.
Fascists and all that stuff, and be like, oh no,
But I mean, but also what you're saying,
I agree. I think
what you're saying is that they are right, but you should broaden your scope.
You should broaden your scope. There's just like the fascism is already in the house.
Yeah,
we're already fascist.
Really? That was your play, man? Okay.
Got rid of it.
G to the
But I also
G.
think the reason that it's so relevant and keeps getting brought back to conversations is just like a contingent event in history where somehow it happened that both like the Western like liberal democracies and communists were somehow on the same side against fascism, and they won.
Yeah.
So then it's like a nice cultural touchstone because you can say it and everyone will understand this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it could have gone so many different ways.
But the interesting thing about like the liberal democracy and stuff like that of the early Cold War period was far more social democrat, rather than liberal.
Yeah.
It emphasized the democratic angle of it, of the state, and it was using the powers of the state to again affect social, but along democratic angles. Now we've just got a neoliberal state. But it's still because there was no definitive break in which the whole thing was renamed, the new flag, a new system put in. We still harken back to these same things.
Yeah.
There's still some legitimacy that comes from the democratic tradition.
Yeah.
But now everyone in the West is just doing neoliberalism.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I don't know. And like you know, neoliberalism and stuff like that, that arose from fascism. That was a reassessment of what did fascism do from
Their
fascists.
perspective, yeah.
From fascists. They reanalyzed what did we like, what did we dislike from this, what was good about the imperial structures of Austria-Hungary and stuff like that, what was great about that, and what did we fuck up? We went too far on the social stuff. These other stuff got in the way. We just need to deal with the economy. That's where we got neoliberalism, and that's what we have now. I feel like,
No, it's true. And like going back to what you were saying about Anibole's stuff that he says about Maloney, is that when you look at the individual policies of these neo-Nazis, like Maloney, policy-wise, she's not that different from like Hillary Clinton, or like any kind of neo-lib you'd get out there.
No
it's just
TVA,
like because
I
this
suppose.
country has like a
Unfortunate.
cultural link and a history with fascism that like we can easily like outsource our own responsibility and be like, this woman is a Nazi, even though her policies are the same as the horrendous ones that you get from libs in America.
Yeah.
And even her like language is the same. Like
I just think, and I think like America's so interesting.
Except for the fact that she speaks down.
And like again, the social kind of what you were talking about, the social project, which was inherent to fascism and stuff like that, has so much more purchase in Europe. And like I think Israel today, that's a fascist.
Yeah.
That's a fascist state.
Yeah.
Because there's this
undeniably.
social project around race. I mean, not all fascism has the racial components.
Italy was slightly less.
Slightly less. And,
I mean,
and
although
stuff like
they did
but
it too.
America is so unique because
Sweet.
of how
Another dub.
ingrained individualism
I love this deck.
and the libertarian tradition and all this stuff. So there's so many of these people backing Trump are also complete individualists.
Yeah.
And there's so much purchase in the Republican Party around these libertarian principles and stuff like that. So I feel like
But
it's just
even then, I feel like
authoritarian, nationalistic neoliberalism.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they're both marketing the same thing. I guess I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to get past just rhetorically the kind of stuff he says about migrants. Like that.
It's horrible. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But by me being hesitant to apply the label fascist does not in any way mean that is not evil, and disgusting, and monstrous, and should be criminal.
Yeah.
Like it's disgusting. But I'm just doing it's a semantic academic point of if we want to classify things, let's classify things properly. There's not much use in that, I don't think, but hopefully I've explained myself a little bit to you people. But if we disagree, that's fine.
Okay, so while Trump was doing... Oh, wait, what do we have here? Okay, something else looks sick. While Trump was at McDonald's, Kamala Harris was...
I like this himbo MP3. Just call the US fascist and you're good to go. I like it. There's like a cop pulling you over. Sir, just call the US fascist and you're good to go, please.
Just say you haven't had anything to drink. I don't care.
Just call him a fascist and you're good to go.
Come on, mate. It's like the stern good cop.
Yeah, come on, mate. Come on, let's
Come on, mate.
Yeah. Just put the fries in the bag, please.
Put the fries in the bag, little bro.
You're fried. So while...
All right. Yeah, I think that's about where we're going to wrap it up for the evening. So we played a little bit of World of Warcraft. We played a little bit of Marvel Snap. We did some Mythic raiding and got our first Mythic boss down. We did some Mythic Plus and raised our Mythic Plus score. And we raised our eye level by maxing out our gear. Honestly, one heck of a stream. One heckin' heck of a stream. Let me see if I have any sweet babies that might want to come help me say goodnight. Ooh, there does seem to be a sweet baby at my door. It's the lightning lady herself, Athos the Swift. Maybe she'll come help me say goodnight to the stream. Hello, Lady Lightning. Oh, and hello, Aramis. Hey, babies. Hey, babies. You two want to help me end the stream? You two want to help me say goodnight? Not you, Athos? You don't want to say goodnight to the stream? That's fair. What about you, Aramis? Do you want to say goodnight to the stream? Do you want to say goodnight to them? Do you want to thank them for watching and following? My babies. My sweet babies. All right, babies. Are you ready to help me with my sign off, or are you gonna say no too? Oh, you weren't gonna help me either? But I thought you loved me. You wanna help me end the stream? You wanna help me end the stream? You just wanna cuddle, huh? You wanna do any actual work? I can't blame you. It's the streamer's job to end the stream. You babies are right. You babies are right. Oh, I see D'Artagnan down there. Maybe she'll help me end the stream. You think your sister will help? What do you think? You think she'll help? What about you, D'Artagnan? Are you gonna help me end the stream? Are you gonna help me? You're not gonna help me either, huh? You know, these viewers do pay for your food. You know, you could throw them a bone. You could wave goodnight to them with your fluffy little paws. You could choose to do that. Okay, or you can yeet yourself directly over my shoulder. That's just fine. Of course, I've got Aramis right here in my lap. Everyone's so camera shy tonight. But yes, it seems like we're unlikely to be able to enlist any one of the particular babies to help me end the stream. Though they definitely want me to end the stream so I can spend more time paying attention to them. So I'll do that. I'll end the stream, spend some time with the Musketeers, but I'll be back tomorrow. And since tomorrow is Friday, and since we got a lot of our main character stuff done, I'd say the alt-stravaganza continues tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'll do, but I would like to level my dragon. I would like to level my Devoker. I hear Devastation's a lot of fun. Oh, hey, Porthos. Will you help me end the stream? Will you help me? I can't seem to find a sweet baby to help me end the stream. Yeah, they're looking at me like, what gives, man? Make with the food. It's like, I'm trying. You guys won't help me end the stream. What's that about? My babies. So yes, I will be back tomorrow. Later today for the Needlessly Pedantic. Probably around 7 p.m. as usual. And barring any particular burning desire to play my main, which I may find myself having, or maybe we'll try to get into some 10s, and if we can't get into 10s, then we'll do alts. I don't know, it usually comes together in my mind when I'm at the civilian job in the downtime. What am I going to do today on my stream? And it does seem like, with time walking, and with the anniversary event, leveling some of my alts is definitely on the cards. I think that's definitely something we want to do. And I just realized I never opened my vault on my alts either. So that'll be good. We can open my vault on my Demon Hunter and my Shadow Priest and see what they got. Yeah. I think we're definitely going to have more alt-stravaganza tomorrow. So I hope you'll join me and the Musketeers for that. Thank you, Lychee Ember, for the follow. And huge shout outs to Yin, YH901, Milf and Cookies, Disjoint, and Duke Vulture for coming back to the stream. As much as I love getting new followers, and new subscribers. I also love seeing people that have previously followed come back for subsequent streams. And the beginning of the stream was a little hectic, trying to get dialed in for Mythic Raid, watching my favorite WoW podcasts. But we settled into some cozy vibes by the end. And that'll be the order of business tomorrow as well. Just wall-to-wall, cozy vibes, doing alt stuff, having a good time. I think that'll be what tomorrow's like. So I hope you will join me and the Musketeers for that. And if you tuned in, thank you very much for tuning in. But for tonight, for now, see ya.